Hello, everyone. Jason Hagholm back for another edition of Jason and the Gentleman. And joining me, as always, is the gentleman Josh Hill, who's moved into his room in Connecticut as he is mere days away from finally stepping back in that Bellator cage this Friday against Jared Scoggins on the main card. Josh, how are you?
I'm good, my man. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well, but I can't be doing just as good as you. I mean, obviously, you've come to an end of another fight camp. You've made it to Connecticut. You've got your lovely wife there, so you've got some family support with you this time out. I mean, everything's just coming up Josh Hill.
Yeah, she's here. Say hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, we just everything's good, man. Yeah. It's just now it's the boring part of the week. You sit and wait, and the weight cut is always fun, right? I mean, no matter how much weight you got to cut, it always sucks. You just want to get it over with. But yeah, everybody's good, man.
And knowing you, you probably don't have that much weight to cut.
No, I'm good, man. My weight's always in check. Like even the whole camp, it's like I'm pretty light. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. You even told me a couple weeks ago that you were too light, couple weeks out, that you had to put on some weight, wanted to put on some weight.
Yeah, because my last fight, I was too small. You know what I mean? I was actually I was so oh, my weight's so light, and I barely had to cut anything. And the weight cut was, I mean, it's always getting easier and easy, but last one was just too easy almost. But I felt like I gave up some size in there. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to find that balance a bit, go back a little bit, and keep my weight up just a little bit. Just not cutting a shit ton of weight, but enough to keep some mass on.
And obviously, I'm assuming your training camp went well. Because I mean, I know going into your last fight, you're dealing with some injuries that really hadn't healed, and seems like you seem a lot more healthy just from talking with you these past few weeks. We haven't really talked about that, but you seem a lot more healthy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Way better than I was last one. That's for sure. I did been doing rehab this whole last year, basically, before this camp to get everything in check. But yeah, things are feeling way better.
Well, that's good to hear. And I mean, as we were talking just before, I mean, main card, that's obviously you were saying, I wish it could be first fight. I mean, everyone kind of probably wishes that just because, you get in there and get it over with. But, you're in a prominent spot on a card that's featuring a big fight in your division with the title being on the line.
Yeah. Like I was joking, I only took a loss to get final on the main card. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I understood my first fight being on the prelims, and then I thought my second fight for sure, being against Perez, and he's a pretty big name, well known. I thought it would be on there, and then I thought for sure it was Stotts. Especially they're talking, potential title ramifications with that. I thought it'd be on the main, but it was a stacked card, that's for sure. But yeah, so with this one, I guess there was also an injury too, with the JJ Wilson fight falling through.
Yeah.
So they bumped my fight up, so that's cool.
Hey, you're on there, 2 Canadians back to back, you and then Jeremy Kennedy. So, I mean, that's nice to see, the Canadian contingent filling out the main card for the final Bellator show of 2021. And that's also got to be cool. You're on a main card, titles on the line in the main event in your division. It's the last card of the year for the promotion.
Yeah, it just kind of adds a little something, I guess, because it's a bantamweight belt. So, I'll be watching after my fight to see that one. I'm interested to see it. It's a good fight. But yeah, it means more than just being, if it was the middleweight or heavyweight belt, something else.
Well, what it also means with you getting on the main card now, Josh, they finally started to put some respect on your name.
Is that what it was? Is that what?
I think it does. I mean, you're moving up, you're advancing. Obviously, kind of, as you said, weird. Only took a loss for you to get up there, but hey, they're putting respect on the gentleman Josh Hill's name. You're now becoming a veteran of the promotion at a rapid rate, actually.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm a vet in this game, bro. This will be my 25th fight. 25 fights. It's crazy. I remember just starting out, and this will be my 4th Bellator fight. So yeah, I'm definitely the vet now, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's exciting, and we'll dive into the card as we move on from this show. And I know as you were winding down camp, we talked about this last week, but there was the Triad combat show that Triller put on. It's the MMA fighters versus boxer in this triangle ring. I don't know if you got a chance to see it as you were probably gearing up to head to the airport or the day before, because I know you flew out Sunday. But if you did, what'd you think of the event that Triller put on with MMA fighters versus boxers in a triangle ring, plus a Metallica concert?
I did not see it. No, I didn't see any fights, to be honest. All I saw was a finish of a couple of them, and that's really it. So no, I'm very just looking at the ring. I think it's different. You know, it's weird. Everywhere you go, you're in a corner, so like footwork and movement is very. There's a big change. You know what I mean? That definitely affects the game now. So I think it probably tends to favor the people that don't like that much movement. I would say more the brawly type guys, the guys that like to kind of sit in that pocket and trade, which makes for more entertaining fights. Hence, maybe why they're doing it. But yeah, I don't know. How was it? Was it good?
Honestly, it was like the fights were fine, honestly, and the MMA fighters did a lot better. They used this like hybrid glove of a boxing glove and an MMA glove, but it more looked like an amateur MMA fighting glove. So that kind of, in a way, favored the MMA fighters, but the boxers use it to their advantage in the sense of the main event with Pulev versus Frank Muir. And, Frank, we talked last week about, like, Triller, they keep paying these fighters so much, and it's great that some of them are making their best paydays, but I don't want to see Frank Muir take any more punishment, even though that was the best payday he made of his career, because that was a scary knockout that he took against Pulev, who's a top-ranked level heavyweight boxer whose last fight was against Anthony Joshua in the boxing ring. So, yeah, I don't need to see Frank Muir doing that.
Yeah, no, I mean, but his fights before, that last fight that he had.
Yeah, he looked good against Steve Cunningham.
You know what I mean? Look against Steve Cunningham, and yeah, like you said, that he fought a legit, boxer. You know what I mean? Heavyweight boxer. So it wasn't like you just fighting some other washed up guy or some other MMA schlub that's just boxing now. He's fighting a real challenge, right? So, and with heavyweights too, that shit will happen, especially with the smaller glove. I don't know what ounces it was, if it's 6 or 8s that they had on, but they look small.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't want to see that with anybody, but like, that's the fight game. You know what I mean? Hopefully he doesn't continue to do that and take that kind of punishment. I wouldn't want to see that, but yeah, man, that happens.
It does happen. It was one of those that probably should have been stopped as soon as.
I don't know what the referee was doing, waiting. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? That was obviously clearly like there should have been, and like if you're an 8 count at least, but it should have been stopped because he wasn't there at all.
Yeah, he was totally punch drunk.
Yeah,
like the definition of punch drunk.
Well, he was dancing. He had chicken legs. He wasn't. He was conscious, but not really. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
His body was still functioning, but his mind was not there. So, yeah, it should have been stopped right away. Yeah, I don't understand why I'm thankful he didn't take any more shots. That's all I got.
Yeah. So credit to Pulev, because he threw an uppercut that missed, and if that thing had connected, it would have been much, much worse. But yeah, I mean, I thought the fights were well, and like the MMA fighters did quite well considering the realm of competition of going against some high level guys. Like Derek Campos won a majority decision. Mike Perry won a split decision. Matt Mitrione dropped this Alexander Flores and then just got tired and gassed out as the fight went on. So I thought the MMA fighters did well. I liked the concept. It worked out. Wasn't the most like over the top thing from Triller. My only beef with Triller is, for the love of God, please stop talking about Dana White on every freaking show they do. They talk about Dana White and, fighter pay, which obviously sure, but they just look like so desperate and like Stewart from Mad TV. Look what I can do.
Oh, really? Yeah, I guess they're just trying to hammer it home to like, exploit his, the guy's not getting enough money, over there in the biggest promotion, right? So, yeah, I get why they're doing that, but at the same time, you don't want to look like desperate either, right? So,
They've entered that territory.
I've seen some of the paydays they're paying out, man, and like, Shit, that's pretty good. You know what I mean? Like if that's sustainable, if they can continue to do that, then you'll see a lot of guys jump ship to something like that.
Well, I think Triller, if they keep this model up with the Triad and whatever goes on with this lawsuit against BYB, because they're coming in for like copyright defamation lawsuits and stuff like that. But yeah, the pay has been great. Like, I'm not going to hate on them for that. Pay the fighters as much as possible that they deserve. That's what we've pretty much talked about all the year this year about like UFC not paying anyone. But if they ask, Ryan Kavanaugh, the Triller founder, any question, it could be just about how's the weather. His response is going to be, hey, Dana White, like the cage, we put on a good show and fighter pay. Like, okay, we get it, Ryan. We know, we understand, but in time.
Yeah, I guess he's just taking any mic time or camera time to really drive that home and just to, and I guess the more he talks about that, maybe the more they'll talk about them talking about them, which will create more buzz for them. Who knows, right?
I think Dana White could care less, personally. I mean, Dana has stopped talking about them for months. I think Dana could care less about Triller because they talk about him all the time. Someone's going to ask Dana about it probably after Saturday's show or next Saturday's pay-per-view, but I don't think Dana really cares at all.
I think he cares more than you think, but to the overall extent, not really.
I think Dana cared about other things, even in that rivals as bigger than that, like when it was Elite XC or Affliction. He cared about that a little bit more than I think he's ever cared about Triller.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but I mean that was the event. It ran smooth, which was good because we've talked about PFL level pacing. My God, that was an eternity back when those shows were on. But this show ran smooth. They pretty much got the fights in, out, and then it was Metallica. I mean, if you liked Metallica, that was great. And it seemed like it did okay in terms of like filling out a baseball stadium. So they have that. They have this thing going with these shows every Thanksgiving week in America. So they have that nice window there where there's going to be no UFC. So I do like that they've done it 2 years in a row and trying to make it a tradition.
That's cool. How many? You said they filled out a baseball stadium. So like, how many?
I don't know. I don't know.
Baseball stadium's like 50,000 people. Like, how many people were there?
I'm not sure how many were there. It looked pretty good. Now, a lot of the people were there for Metallica and didn't even know there were fights. So, I mean, maybe to their shock when they saw fights happening. But
I'm sure they didn't buy a ticket to just Metallica and like they didn't know there was fights there.
Apparently, there were a bunch of people that bought tickets just thinking it was Metallica.
How? Like, what? You know what I mean? How do you do that? Like, doesn't it say on the thing like your ticket?
You would think. Yeah, you would think, but apparently they were there. Anyway, I don't know. But I think if anything, it was maybe a smart strategy of marketing the Metallica. You get some fans to be crossed over to this, into it, and then you
also need the right act, right? You know what I mean? And I think Metallica is probably the right act.
Very much so, yeah. I mean, they haven't done a tour. I mean, a lot of bands and musicians haven't done tours since the pandemic, right? So I mean, this is like their first live event since COVID, so.
I mean, more like you need the right demographic of people that listen to that band, probably, right? And the majority will be that 18 to 40-year-old male that probably likes MMA as well or close to, right? So for that. So boxing, not MMA at this one, but
yeah, I think you go for the both really because of how hard the Triller always pushes the MMA aspect of some of their shows with the guys that they've brought out in from the past. So I don't know. We'll see when Triad Combat 2 happens. Apparently, we're going to get like Rampage Jackson versus Shannon Briggs in March in the Triad. So the gimmick, in theory, lives on. We shall see if that is made official at some point soon. But yeah, and then today we found out just this late afternoon that UFC cut Kevin Lee, which is kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that's surprising. Why? Why did they do that? Just because?
Well, I know he's dealing with the USADA suspension, but I don't think that's a reason to just cut someone, especially considering he took Ritalin which he has like a using it for a learning disability, forgot to put in like the therapeutic use side of things. But I wouldn't think they would cut him for that. There must have been some sort of contract issue or something that we don't know. Those details haven't emerged yet. But Kevin Lee now being a free agent, I think is the type of free agent that gets, that free agent talk going, because then we have some free agents like a Kayla Harrison. Now we have a Kevin Lee.
Yeah, I think we're going to see, we talked about this, like more guys like that be released from the UFC because of the rampant signings of all the Contender Series guys, right? And all like when the Ultimate Fighter was there and all the guys that brought up from that show. So they're going to have too many guys on the roster, really. And then guys are going to be waiting to fighting once, twice a year, if that, and they're going to they're not going to be able to fulfill the contract. So, and they're going to look to get rid of guys that are not the newbies that are getting paid, 10 and 10, 12 and 12, whatever. They're going to be looking, and they're not going to get rid of the stars, but they'll get rid of that mid-tier guy like a Kevin Lee. That's going to cost them a good payday to pay him. But he's not quite like that. He's not a Poirier in that division, or of course like a Connor or somebody like that. So yeah, I think you'll see maybe more of that start to happen over the next 6 months.
I think that would be exciting for the fact of the sport. I know there's a Twitter account that follows like the roster movements, and some of the people being removed in rankings isn't necessarily being cut, but Kevin Lee now being a guy cut, I think makes the free agent pool exciting, because you got a Bellator where his brother's a part of. You've got a PFL where I think Kevin Lee could be really exciting in, whether he goes to 155 or 170, competing for $1 million there. And then there's Khabib's promotion, Eagle FC, which is swooped on in and trying to find a way to give Kevin Lee a big contract, as they plan, Eagle FC, to have a bunch of shows in the States come 2022. And that'd be a perfect name right there for your U.S. debut, a guy that's just coming off, was an interim champion in the UFC, and now, going on to Khabib's promotion.
He was an interim champion?
I believe he was.
No.
Or fought for an interim championship. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember him being. Khabib's promotion, they're coming to the States, and to pay somebody like that.
Khabib has put everything into this promotion. They have a show planned for January in Miami. They plan to do another show in Miami as well later in the year, and they've already said, hey, we're willing to make Kevin Lee a huge offer to compete for us. So look at that. Khabib's promotion just quickly becoming number one promotion.
They got that Russian money, bro. That backer money. Yeah, they pay. If you got the right Russian backers, they pay. That's great. Hey, that's awesome. Yeah, like I said, that's good for the fighters, and yeah, that's great. Bring another promotion and pay the guys, and up the pay for all these guys.
Where would you like to see Kevin Lee fall? Because his management seems to be excited about being a free agent and all these options now, with Bellator kind of really jumping back into things as being a number two, PFL making a good run, and even this Eagle FC.
Yeah, I guess it just kind of depends on the numbers, to be honest. The PFL has that, the $1 million, the season type format, which kind of cool. But there's a lot of talent there too. I mean, there's a lot of talent, all of them. Bellator, like you said, his brother fights here. They got a great deep division. Yeah, it just kind of depends on the negotiations and who's willing to pay more. I would imagine he's going to look into. We'll see.
Yeah, we will. I mean, plus when you sign him, I don't know what works. I think he still has to kind of fulfill that USADA suspension before he can debut, because he is already suspended by USADA for
how long?
It was a 6-month suspension. It was it was his first violation, and it was not a serious steroid or anything like that.
It shouldn't have been suspension at all if it's for a prescription drug that you have a doctor giving you and it's not performance enhancing.
Yeah, and you forget to fill out the therapeutic use part of it.
I mean, yeah, I guess that if you have the option to do that and you just forgot, then that's kind of on you, though. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure, yeah. But hey, he's a big option. I mean, this is a guy that's fought some of the best at lightweight in the UFC and welterweight as well. So he's a name. He's a character. He's a personality. So any promotion he goes to, I think, will be lucky to have him, and
Mhm.
he'll probably get a good penny because he may have kind of fizzled out in the UFC a little bit, and obviously not being there. But I still think he's still got the potential to be like a world champion.
Oh, he definitely has like the skill set and athleticism. You know what I mean? It just kind of depends on like, is he learning from his mistakes? You know what I mean? Is he that type of guy, or does he have like that almost like a brashness or like arrogance that where you don't really learn and get better from them? Because yeah, like you said, he definitely has the potential to be very very good, great. I mean, he is very good, but yeah, so we'll kind of just see what he does from here. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. It's just going to come down to what makes most sense for him and business wise. And I mean, Bellator is shown to pay some good dough, and they got a really there's a lot of good signings there. PFL is cool because of the $1 million thing, So see where he goes.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see where he goes, and like Khabib's promotion being thrown out there, especially with the US debuts this year, and plan to do multiple shows in America because they know how important it is to be in America as a foreign promotion makes it interesting. But we shall see, because I mean, this news literally happened earlier today, and obviously he's not going to sign a contract right away. He's probably obviously got to field some offers. This will be a couple month venture, but I think wherever he lands is going to be very exciting for whatever weight class, whether it's 155 or 170, he decides to fight at.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Well, as we didn't have a UFC this past weekend, Josh, because of the American Thanksgiving holiday weekend, we can transition to looking ahead to not only the UFC card, because once again, bantamweights, they rule with the main event there, Rob Font, Jose Aldo. Let's look at your card. Obviously, Friday, final event for Bellator of 2021 with a banger main event in Sergio Pettis defending the bantamweight title against Kyoji Horiguchi. I think this is one of the best fights Bellator has put together this year. I think it's got a lot of intrigue, and there's a lot of intrigue coming out of it because there's Rafion Stott sitting there, and potentially, if his teammate Pettis is able to come away with a win, like he's got to fight his teammate. We've talked about that before. That's interesting. And then there's just Horiguchi being back in Bellator.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good fight, man. We talked about it last week. You know, it's hard to. Pettis looked really good, and he's looked great since he's got here. But it is hard to get a bet against Horiguchi. Yeah, I'm super stoked to watch it. Obviously, I remember I asked my management when they said they re-signed him, like, I'll fight Horiguchi. You know what I mean? Just because he's a big name and former champ, and but he said he's fighting for the title. I was like, okay, well, makes sense. He was the champ and didn't lose it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a great fight, man. I'm pumped to see it.
It's gonna be interesting to see, like, Horiguchi, obviously the former champion, pretty much is an official Bellator fighter is now, but he hasn't fought since New Year's Eve of last year. So he's had a full almost 1 year off of cage time since the last time he fought. And his last fight was in a ring in Ryzen instead of the cage. I don't think that's going to affect him too much as he's fought in Bellator before. But I mean, we haven't seen him fight in a while. So how much has he improved, especially training with Mike Brown and those guys at ATT? And then there's Pettis, who looked phenomenal, winning the championship against Juan Archuleta. And how much can he grow? I think there's just a lot of intrigue in what goes into this fight.
Yeah, 100%. That's what's going to make it. That's what makes it exciting. Yeah, this is a big fight for not just the division, but for the promotion. For sure. Bantamweight's probably their deepest promotion, I think. So it just kind of adds to the intrigue, and then, like you said, with the Stotts kind of lingering there, kind of depending on which way it goes. There's lots of different avenues you could take that are all very intriguing.
How do you see this one playing out, Josh? Because I think a lot of people are picking Horiguchi, and rightfully so. He's one of the best bantamweights in the world. But I still think there's a good chance, Pettis could surprise us because you can never count out a Pettis. They are a bit of unorthodox style fighters, and they have that warrior heart.
Yep, for sure. I could see Pettis catching him and like tagging him and finishing him off, but like I said, it's hard to bet against Horiguchi. Think of what he's done. Man, if I had to pick, I'm gonna pick Horiguchi later sub. Maybe just overwhelms Pettis, kind of tires him out, stifles his game up a bit, and then maybe gets a sub later. But like I said, I'm not confident going into that pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm expecting it to be a tough competitive fight, though I just think Horiguchi's big fight experience may be one part of the difference, and just his high-level grappling. Plus, he's got insane power for a bantamweight too. So I think that's going to that's what makes this fight interesting. But nonetheless, it's one of the best fights Bellator's put on this year. And whoever wins, I think, is going to continue to help grow the division as, the division grows. As you said, it's the best division in the promotion and probably the sport right now, as we've talked about.
Yeah, 100%.
And then the co-main event, Emmanuel Sanchez, Jeremy Kennedy. I mean, this is a big step up here for Jeremy Kennedy, who his last fight in Bellator was a decision loss to Adam Borix. But before that, he won his Bellator debut, and then, taking on Emmanuel Sanchez, who's lost 2 in a row. But his last fight against Mads Burnell was a sensational fight back in July.
Right. Yeah. And then his fight before that was Pitbull, right? Yeah. So 2 high-level guys that 2 losses, but against 2 of the top guys. You never count him out, man. He's tough. It's hard to get him out of there. Durable, good cardio, well-rounded. Kennedy's a guy. I've only seen a couple of his fights actually ever. Even though he's Canadian, he's had a lot of fights too. I think he looks more like a guy that he's gonna use his kind of wrestling and grind you and really tire you out and wear you down. And he might be able to do that against a guy like Sanchez. So I don't know, man. That's another one that's that's a tough call. I don't know. I'll go with the Canadian, right? You got to go with the Canadian. So I'll pick Kennedy.
You got to go with the Canadian. You got to support him. But I just think Sanchez has too much big fight experience in Bellator. Now, don't get me wrong. Jeremy Kennedy, he's been in the UFC. He's been in the PFL. He's now in Bellator. Not like he's fought nobodies. But I just think the trajectory of where Sanchez is on, even though he's lost 2 in a row, I don't diminish that, especially of the quality of opponent he's fought. I think that is a big factor, and I think he's just going to find a way to maybe tag Jeremy and maybe get him out of their 2nd or 3rd round.
Very possible, right?
Could happen. As with any fight prediction, anything could happen. We'll just see if it does happen, though. Though I am happy to see Jeremy Kennedy get a, guy that's fought for titles in Bellator level of opponent.
Yeah, big up. I mean, the Borix was a big opportunity too, in a big fight, and so was this one. So,
and I mean, when you look at this card, like this is a card that you're ending the year with a lot of guys debuting that have, well-traveled experience. Kai Kamaka's debuting on this card. Colin Huckbody's debuting on this card, the main card, as well. Like a Spike Carlisle, who's a real exciting guy that's had some experience in the UFC. As well. So I mean, this is a card that I can see Bellator heading towards in the right direction of the quality of talent that they're having as they make their cards bigger and better. And I've kind of found a groove as they closed out 2021 and going into 2022.
Yeah, for sure, it's a good card, man, for sure. I think they're just popping up more and more of these, right? And I think it'll just be like the norm with all these guys they sign and the guys they build. So I think just expect bigger things in 2022 from them.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens there. I mean, obviously then, Colin Huckbody, who's coming off a loss to Aaron Jeffrey in CFFC, where he lost the middleweight championship. He's making his Bellator debut against Johnny Eblin, who's a 9-0 fighter out of ATT. Pretty much all of his fights, majority of his fights happened in Bellator, was former Shamrock FC guys. So once again, some up-and-coming prospects kicking off the main card before you and Jared Scoggins. I mean, what can we expect to see from you, Josh? What have you been working on? What tricks are we going to see from you?
I ain't saying that now, bro. You know, I just try to be better than every fight, to be honest, man. I know it's cliche, but like, you know, I coming off a loss too, like, you know, I took some shit that from that fight that I did not do well, and I'm trying to change that and tweak some things like to make it more favorable for me, and some things that I had some tendencies to do that sometimes cost me the fights or rounds, you know, just trying to get rid of those. So, but overall, man, I feel good. My skill set is amongst the highest. I just gotta bring it that day, that night, um, and that's what I plan on doing, dude. I have, like, there's no easy fights here, right? All these fights are tough, right? So Scoggins is another tough guy, but I fought a lot of tough guys in my career. So, you know, he's another guy in there with me. He has the skill sets, you know. He's very, like I said, like jumpy. He has like that traditional like karate taekwondo kind of striking background where he does that in and out Wonder Boy style. So I'm gonna look to, like, you know, exploit that, and yeah, man, I'm gonna look. I want to get that finish. That's what I'm looking for. You know, 2-1 in Bellator, and you know, all three are gone the distance. So yeah, I want to get that finish, man.
The finish is everything for you going into this fight, you would say. Obviously the win, but getting a
No,
finish would
the
be
win is the win is, bro. Obviously, I want the finish, man. But yeah, of course, I want to finish. You know, fuck yeah.
yeah. Well, hopefully you go out there and get it against a guy by the nickname of Psycho, Jared Scoggins, 10-1, 26 years old. I mean, he's been waiting to make his Bellator debut for a while too, where he's had
Yeah.
some issues and stuff like that. So I'm sure he's super excited and looking to make a name off you, which obviously we can't let that happen.
No, yeah, exactly. For sure, he's definitely trying to do that. Yeah, he's had. I looked at his thing. He's had 3 fights in a row, all fall through.
Mm-hmm.
One was a misweight by a mass out by his opponent. One was an injury, and then one was COVID the week of too. So he's had 2 fights in fight week that have fallen through. So I would imagine in his head he's probably worried that until he steps foot in that cage, this fight is still there's potential of falling apart. Which obviously we're not going to let that happen. But yeah, he's had some unfortunate luck. So he's finally hopefully get a chance to get in there. But he drew me for this one. So I'm not going to let him make a name off me. That's the plan, man.
No, because you got a whole lot left in the tank, as that's the thing here. And you know what's kind of cool about this card, Josh? Not only are you fighting on it, you're fighting on this card, and a guy that we called a fight with is fighting also on this card, in Jacob Bond.
That's right. I saw that. Yeah, I thought that name looked familiar. Yeah, the guy that fought Vlad, right?
At BTC 6, we
Right.
called his fight, and now he's fighting on the same card as you.
Yeah, he got I think it was like a last minute, like this was recent, right? He got caught, like a fight booked, I think it was.
Yes, he is fighting Justin Montalvo on this card. So
I seen it like post saying it was like he signed a 1-fight deal. He's hoping to use this to make it a multi-fight deal. Yeah, and I saw the name. And I was like, oh yeah, that's cool.
He is from that East Coast area of the U.S., so I mean, easy to get him in and not a long travel. So yeah, I think he's durable enough to hopefully if he looks good enough, can get a contract at a Bellator. I mean, he's been in the game for quite a while, so good for him to get a shot with Bellator.
Yeah, for sure, man. Good for him.
So as we move on from the Bellator card, as the UFC, they return for the first of 3 straight events. And, obviously Bellator is highlighted by the bantamweights, and then so is the UFC. Rob Font, Jose Aldo. And what a banger fight that is, because a win for Font probably puts him around the bubble of being next in line for a title shot at 135 pounds. But you can never discredit Aldo, arguably the greatest bantamweight of all time. This week on Twitter, it's all been like, what's your favorite Aldo moment? I'm like, there's too many to name, but I mean, this is just a legend that still looks good at 135, a new weight class, and he still looks great.
Well, he'd be my favorite featherweight of all time, not bantamweight, but yeah.
True. Yes.
But yeah, man, he's awesome, man. That's Aldo. You know what I mean? He's I remember watching this guy before he started training, and that's crazy that he's my age, because you would think he's just so much older, you know what I mean? But he just started so young. He's like a Holloway type guy, he's just been around forever. But just because they started so young, but this is a good fight, man. It's That's a tough one, man. His Font, he's very big for the division, huge, long, uses his range really well, good boxing, like well rounded. And then Aldo, so explosive. His leg kicks, if he uses them, are deadly. His boxing's great. Takedown defense is amazing. Um, the later this fight goes, the longer it goes, I think it favors Font, because Aldo does tend to fade later on. And Font keeps that pace going for 5 rounds. So I think if Aldo gets it done, it'll be early. But as much as it pains me to say this, I'm going to say Font by 3rd round TKO.
Okay, so Font is on a 4 fight win streak right now, with the lone finish in that was the Marlon Moraes finish about last year this time. So since then, he's picked up 3 of those 4 wins are by decision. So he's known to be durable and pretty much control a fight. But I can see Aldo winning. I think Font wins the fight, but I'm still never counting out Aldo because he still looked good. And even some of the fights he's lost, like when he lost to Marlon Moraes, I didn't think he lost to Marlon Moraes. Like I thought he actually won that fight. The only time he had a rough go was towards the end of that Jan fight where he just got tired and Jan just put the pounding on him. But since then Aldo has gone in there. He's picked up 2 wins in a row against Chito Vera and then Pedro Munoz by decision. I think just by how as you go up the scale, fights get tougher. I think we see another decision. I think if anything, Font may rub a 48-47, a 3 rounds to 2 type thing. But I expect Aldo to be very durable in this fight and really be the toughest test that Rob Font has seen in the UFC.
Oh, probably, for sure. Yeah, and I'm one of the biggest Aldo fans. It's just, if you look at, I think with Font's, even with his fight with Cody, Cody came out strong and then Font picked up the pace and just kept the pace going, and Cody couldn't keep up with it and couldn't deal with that reach, right? And then same thing when Marlon came. Marlon put it on him early, and Font kind of battled with it, and they put it on Marlon as the fight went on. And then as well, he had another fight too, where again it was later on. So he just tends to do that, and that's kind of Aldo's, I would say, kryptonite. Guys that can take that early and then put the pace on later. So I think that's what's going to happen. But to be honest, I would love to see Aldo get the win. I want that guy to. I always want that guy to win. Yeah.
I don't think anyone that especially grew up with like WEC level Aldo would disagree with you on that, because guy can still be amazing, and he did a lot for the lighter weight guys. Whether even though he's now a bantamweight, but when featherweight, when they weren't getting the shots, and what he did. So I'm expecting to be a very good fight. I think, like I said, Font edges one out, but Aldo's just you never know what you're going to get with Aldo.
No, that's for sure.
And then the co-main event is Rafael Fiziev versus Brad Riddell. So that should be a crazy striking match in the co-main event.
Is Brad Riddell the New Zealand guy?
Yeah, Australian.
I don't know this Fiziev though.
So Fiziev is like one of those guys from like Kyrgyzstan, same place from that the Shevchenkos are from. He just fought Bobby Green. He's got a couple big knockouts. He's just a good high-level striker. He's trained in Thailand at Tiger Muay Thai, so his stand-up, his Muay Thai, obviously really good. So it's really just going to be 2 guys. What we're hoping is just going to be 2 guys that stand in the middle and just trade shots with each other.
Yeah, cool. I don't know enough about him to do that. Yeah, that Riddell guy's he's good. Very tough, durable, good striking, like you said. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see if the was it Chechen? Is he Chechen? You say?
Kyrgyzstan.
Yeah, we'll see if they use any of that. I mean, like I said, more striking base, but yeah, I don't know, man. Sounds exciting. I don't know enough about him, so I can't really comment.
It should be a fun stand-up fight, hopefully. But I mean, hey, it's MMA, where most of the time some of those high-level strikers, it just kind of cancels each other out, and we get like a wrestling or grappling battle. So, like you said, never know. I mean, Clay Guida's fighting on this card, and he's taking on Leonardo Santos, who's looking to get back in the win column after he lost to Grant Dawson back in March. And Clay's had himself a nice little run. Obviously, he lost his last fight to Marco Madsen, but it was a split decision and still looked good.
Yeah, Clay's the man. I
Yeah.
love training with that guy out there. Nicest guy ever, and just the vet that's been around. And yeah, man, Clay's obviously super tough, super durable, cardio machine, well rounded. And yeah, he's fighting Leo, who I remember I trained with out in when I went to Brazil. He's actually the guy that brought me out there. Wagner, it's his brother, half brother.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean Leo's amazing fighter. Very very good jiu-jitsu, high level, good striking too. So yeah, this is an interesting one. We'll see. We'll see if Guida looks to keep it on the feet, or he does take him down. But I don't know if he might look to just keep it on the feet and just try to exchange and avoid the submission game. But yeah, any Guida fight, I'm tuning in.
Yeah, Clay Guida has been in the UFC since 2005, 2006. One of the longest guys on the roster, and he's there for a reason because his fights are usually very exciting. And I remember when he won his first fight of the year against Michael Johnson, he said he wanted to step up in competition. He's got that this year. I mean, the split decision loss to Marco Madsen, who's a Olympic level wrestler, and now Santos. So it should be a good one. I mean, as you said, anytime Clay fights, it's a good time.
Yeah, 100%.
There's two prospects as well, Jimmy Crute, Jamal Hill. Both guys coming off nasty breakages. Obviously, Crute dislocated his foot or leg back in April, and then Jamal Hill had his arm broken in an arm bar in his last fight. Yeah. So hopefully we don't get any of that, but it's one of those fights where the UFC's it's time to make two prospects against each other.
Yeah, that it's bittersweet when you see that happen because one takes a step back and then one keeps the trajectory going. But it's exciting to see. It's best for fans when you get to see that. Yeah, so that'll be a good one, man.
It should be a good one, and as well, I mean, Chris Curtis is on this card, who's stepping in short notice after just winning 2 weeks ago at Madison Square Garden against Phil Hawes, and he's taking on Brendan Allen. That has potential to be fight of the night. So, I mean, there's some quality fights on this card as the UFC winds down their year.
Yeah, cool, man. That's I mean, overall, it's not like an amazing card, but there's some good fights on it. That's for sure.
They always deliver with the solid main event that we just talked about there in Aldo and Font. So, especially how jam packed that 135-pound division is right now, where we got Jan, interim champion. Sterling is the champion, but we're still waiting to see when he'll fight.
Yeah.
Sandhagen's still in the mix, and all these guys at 135 pounds. It's just crazy how deep that division is.
Yeah, for sure. And then the week after, there's more bantamweights fighting too, which have some, well, not really title implications, but more some more talent to talk about on there. So yeah, and then there's I think Cruz is on the next one. I believe that's who it was that I was looking at. But yeah, that and then there's still TJ around, right? So
yeah,
there's lots of things that could be.
I mean, there's Sean O'Malley. There's Sean O'Malley. That's
O'Malley's fighting my boy Paiva from Alpha Male. That's a good one. That's one I was thinking of too. And Cruz is fighting somebody else that's good. Who is it? I can't remember.
Oh, can't remember. I know Cruz is fighting coming up, but I as well cannot remember off the top of my head. Pedro Munoz on that card.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
There you go. Oh, it's 2 weeks? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's another one. Pedro's one of the top guys too. So yeah, man, lots of bantamweights.
Lots of talented 135 pounders going on. And then, I mean, a former bantamweight champion and Cody Garbrandt's making his flyweight debut in 2 weeks at UFC 269. And, we've talked about this before, but I think it's the perfect weight class for him. Cody seems like he can make the weight easy. And I think he's a name enough that if he wins, he probably fights the winner of Figueiredo and Moreno 3 at the end after January.
Well, we'll see if it's the perfect weight class for him after a fight, right?
Sure.
You can always say that beforehand, but having been training with him these past 3 weeks, and him gearing up, me getting up, it's always good. Yeah, he's been looking good, and his weight seems to be in check, and he seems to be doing it healthy, and not killing himself. And so, yeah, I'm excited to see him at this weight class. And yeah, that I mean, it's no secret flyweight has a much shallower pool than bantamweight. So with someone with his name recognition, a win here could propel him right up in that mix there, and he could get it off one win, maybe if not two for sure. So yeah, so I think he'll do well.
I think he'll do well. I mean, he was supposed to make this cut before he had his last fight against Font. I know he was going to make the 125. Then he got COVID and then went back to 135 and is now finally back at 125. But I think he'll be, if he can make the weight and weigh in properly. But, this is a guy with a wrestling background that made it seem like the weight cutting's not an issue. So hopefully he still got, 2 weeks before the fight. But I'm excited to see what he can do because I think this weight class can reinvent him. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I think, like I said, I mean, skill set wise, he's very good, for sure. It's if I always wonder if he could do it healthy, if he get his weight down healthy and be able to perform. And yeah, just judging from training with him and talking with him about it, it seems like he's in check. And he's got it down pretty. He's not just dropping a crazy amount of weight and killing himself, which some guys do. So yeah, I think I'm excited to see what he can do.
And as well, I mean, there's another guy you were around with, Josh Emmett. He's taking on Dan Ige on that 269 card. Finally, the return of Josh Emmett.
Yeah, Josh is back, which I got some good rounds with Josh. We always have good rounds, and Elkins is on that card too. So yeah, it was a good training room. All these guys have been upcoming fights. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Team Alpha Male Express to close out 2021 in MMA with, you getting some time in there, and then all those guys pretty much fighting on 269 coming up, as well as what's on this weekend for the UFC. So, I mean, Team Alpha Male, that's why it's one of the best gyms in the world.
Absolutely, man. That's why I go down there, killers.
Exactly. Well, as I see you're getting tired, Josh, I'll wind this down.
I'm getting tired. I got no carbs in me right now, bro. I don't do well without carbs. I need them. But no, I mean, like I said, my weights, I'm good. It's just when it gets to a day or two out, you just want to eat everything you see. That's all.
Understandable. I mean, at least you're fighting Friday, so the weigh-ins are in 48 hours.
Yeah, not even.
Not even now, yeah.
I'll get on that scale 9:01 Thursday morning and weigh in, then back to eating and drinking.
Nice. Well, I will wind this down so you can enjoy the rest of your night with your wife who has made the trek out, and you're going to spend some time together. So we don't need to do a show next week, as I know you're going on a little bit of a vacay.
Yeah, we're going to take a hiatus. Yeah, we need a MMA break.
Get a little MMA break. I mean, we'll be back, and hopefully it's a win, so we can reminisce and talk all the greatness and the big moments of your fight, where you come off with a finish as well. So that'll be bonus. And I mean, let's be real. You fighting on the main card, it's a win for me. I don't have to rush to try to find it later on the prelims. I can actually probably watch this live after said Rangers broadcast. So it's a win for me. It's a win for everyone being you on the main card as well.
Yeah. I mean, for some people in Canada, it's not, though, because, actually, no, you can get the whole card.
It's a win for everyone in Canada. It's on YouTube.
That's right. Yeah. It was when I was in the States, I was trying to watch it on YouTube and I couldn't watch the main card. That's what, yeah. So, yeah, Canada. Awesome.
Oh, Canada, indeed. Well, Josh, enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll be back in 2 weeks. And once again, best of luck in the fight. And I'll talk to you in 2 weeks where hopefully you pick up another professional win in your mixed martial arts career as the gentleman gets gentlemanly violent on Friday.
That's right. That's right. Thanks, man.
All right. Well, Josh, best of luck, and we'll talk in 2 weeks.
Sounds good, bro.
Sweet.